Call the meeting of the Development Committee of July 1st to order. I we have a roll call.
Member Krajewski?
Here.
Member Rutledge?
Here.
Member Covert? Member Ozak?
Here.
Vice Chair Yu?
Here.
Chair Tornatori?
Here. Welcome to all of the rest of you who are gracing us with your presence. I have no chairman's remarks. Here's we have no public comment. So we'll move right on to approving the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of June 17th. Motion second. Any additions, corrections, deletions? Hearing none, saying none. All is in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. I'll entertain a motion to approve BCO 26-25 zoning 25-2. Perez to zoning hearing officer's approval for rezoning from B1 local business to R4 single family residential. We have a motion.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions, comments on this? Hearing none, saying none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 27-25 zoning 25. An ordinance zoning hearing officer's approval of variation to allow a detached accessory building and a variation to reduce the interior side yard for a new shed. There's a motion and a second. Any questions, comments on this? Hearing none, saying none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve DCO 28-25 zoning 2531. Zoning hearing officer's recommendation to approve a variation and increase height of a new fence. Motion is second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. We move on to the proposed text amendments to the county zoning ordinance relative to short-term rentals on residential dwelling. This is an action item. It's going to be, this is going to be a motion to send it to ZBA for a public hearing. It's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I know Paul would have been here to explain this a little more, but he's not here. I understand he's an accident this morning. Hopefully he's fine. We talked about this. Apparently there's people using Airbnbs in unincorporated areas, basically without much money coming to the county. So this is going to be an opportunity to not only regulate it, but generate some funds as a result of it. It's got to go to public hearing, then come back to us, to the county board. All right.
Spot on. I'll defer to Jessica if she wants to add anything to that though.
Yes, that's correct. So this is to regulate Airbnbs. Currently, right now, we don't have a prohibited list of uses. We have a section or code that says uses that are not specifically permitted are prohibited. This would place Airbnbs as permitted. As a home occupation, they come in every year, apply for their license. Every year they renew. That funding sounds like will be going into housing solutions. So working on that will help regulate those. They'll be regulated similar to single family residential, so not more than 5 people unrelated renting the home. We're seeing a lot of Airbnbs have issues with parties, large parties, sheriffs get called. So there's a provision in here as well where they would come in for a special event. So the owner of the property would say, we have some renting property for a wedding, birthday party, family reunion. They'd come in for a special event, which would come before you all. So.
Member Rutledge.
Thank you. I'm so happy to see this. Will this allow short-term rentals? Because I know that the previous prohibition was anything less than 30 days,
Yes, so
correct?
that's what this is.
Okay, and I think I've long advocated for this as a way for seniors to stay in their home that have too big of a house for a husband and a wife, but they can actually generate some income from that. Before I knew it was illegal, when we were starting a new business, we did this for about 3 or 4 years and generated a pretty sizable amount of cash by washing sheets and towels, so.
I don't feel it's illegal. It's unemployment.
Well,
We're gonna put in.
and we stopped once we realized there was no
I-
acceptance of this, but I just think that, for people that are struggling with a way to pay their property taxes and stay in their homes and, you know, we have a lot of people from Wheaton College come in for parent weekends and things like that. We've never had issues. Hosted people from 7 different countries. It was a really cool experience and a great way to make money. So I'm really, really happy to see this. And I may consider giving some public comment to the zoning when it comes up there.
Yeah, it's long overdue. The municipalities I'm involved in regularly are making regulations regarding this.
And
as
have they
well.
talked about like a yearly license fee, what that would be and,
The exact amounts haven't been determined, but yes, there would be a registration fee, just so we're aware who to contact.
yeah.
As Jessica indicated, I mean, just as of this weekend, we had the sheriff's office out at a facility that we found out to be an Airbnb. It's 40 to 50 people want to fight. So having some contacts at these places would probably be a benefit for all of us.
Oh,
And that's
absolutely.
the point of the public hearing, we're gonna vet all that
Mhm.
stuff, so,
Figure out where the problem's like. Thank you so much.
sure you.
Thank you. So going back to the fees, is there, so how will the discussion happen about how much those fees will be? Will it be extremely cost prohibitive, or is it something that we really want to make affordable for people?
The goal would be to make it affordable. It's more of just like our business registration, just indicating that, we do our vendor registration for contractors. It'd be, I would imagine, much like a liquor license or that, I mean, a couple $1,000s maybe with an application fee and that yearly renewal of a couple thousand. And I can tell you this, Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. We currently have adjudication for some Airbnb rental properties that they come in, they get $1,000, $2,000 fine, they pay it, no questions asked. Then they kind of ease up for a little bit, go back to renting. So they've kind of already put this into the cost of operating their business yearly. So we're just trying to legitimize it a little bit more, is probably the better way to put it.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I have several more questions. So Jessica, did you say that this is for 30 days or less? It can't be more than 30 days. Because if they decide to do a rental for 3 months, that's no good.
Well, so short-term rental is 30 days or less. Standard rental agreements are usually month to month or yearly.
Right.
So those are permitted. 30 days or more rentals are permitted, like standard rental contracts. It's really the 30 days or less that are the problem.
And so the ones that go over.
This
30
isn't gonna
days-
change the ability of somebody to.
Right, so that
rent
doesn't
their
apply
apartment or-
specifically to this ordinance then? Okay.
Correct.
And then my other question has to do with the inspections. So it looks like it would be an authorized representative DuPage County would make an inspection. Is this going to be on a yearly basis, or do we have staff to do that? Yes, all those questions.
Yes, so we have staff to do that. It would be when they apply and then likely when they renew as well.
Okay. And then my final question is, it says shall not permit the occupancy of more than 5 people who are unrelated by blood or marriage. So is this saying that this rental cannot be more than 5 people?
Unrelated by blood or marriage. So it could be we consider, so single family residence or single family is anyone related by blood, marriage, adoption. Or 5 people not so related. This just piggybacks off that.
So if there was like a girls' party that came and decided to do an Airbnb rental and there were like 8 women just hanging out, that would be a problem, right?
Technically, that would not be allowed. They could come in for a special event. And that's really to curtail on the issues that we've been having with parties at the Airbnbs. Like a lot of times on the weekends, especially in summer, we get called out from the sheriff's office for Airbnb rentals, and then code enforcement goes out there, issues a violation. And we go from there. So this would assist with just the general Airbnb rentals. And then special events would come before you. So weddings, larger parties, gatherings.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Right.
So does that prohibit all the Ryder or the President's Cup coming when they rent out all those houses? There'll be more than 5 people in the house that are not related. That'll be-
Special event.
Yeah, this would be,
So every one of those would have to go get a special events from us.
yes, if they're more than 5 people unrelated. If
Okay.
it's
So
a
we should
family-
probably reach out there because, you know, when the Ryder Cup came, with blocks and blocks, they're all rented out. But I mean, some people came in and actually brought their own furniture in and pulled it out, did corporate entertaining.
Right.
That's gonna affect, you know, hundreds of houses down on a corporate area over there.
I think by the time the President's Cup comes in September of 2026, we'll have this
Figured it.
under wraps and figured it out. Certainly.
We want to
No,
notify them because
Right.
every one of them, there's gonna be a lot of them that'll have more than 5 unrelated people in those houses.
I would suggest you might boost that number to 8. If you've got 4 couples that want to get together and rent something, seemed kind of onerous to have to get permission to go from 5 to 8. So that's really my only comment. I'm thrilled that this. is
Well,
finally-
you know what, I've been through this with a couple of the municipalities that I represent. Gotta remember, a lot of these homes are in the middle of residential areas with a lot of other people around them. You get 8 people. It can get really raucous. Whether it's whomever it is. I think that 5 is the number that most municipalities use.
Okay.
So I presume there's a reason for 5,
I
but
was gonna ask if, what was the analysis between 5 and 6 or?
Yeah.
okay, I mean, I'm not gonna get into the weeds on that. I don't know, but where does it stop? And I think that's the problem. I lived in a neighborhood that was a victim of one of these issues. And there was people who guy built the house, couldn't sell it, turned it into an Airbnb, unregulated, and there was craziness every weekend. So, it can be problematic if it gets too much, but we do have the option of a special event. So if you're gonna come in with 8 or 10 people, because it's a 5-bedroom house, then come in, and I don't think we're gonna be unreasonable with that. It's not our history. Mary.
I'm splitting hairs here, but what if you had 4 couples? So then the 4 partners would be related to the initial 4 people. Is that?
You're not splitting hairs. It's a good question, one I had, Jessica.
So it's unrelated, so if there's 4 couples,
Have to be sisters and husbands or,
right, like sisters and husbands, or it could get down to that. Sometimes we do have to look at that, especially we get, calls out for properties that are renting to more than 5 people, just general, month to month. They're renting out bedrooms, which you can do, that's no
Okay.
problem at all. But we have calls where it's families and then renters in addition, so then we have to start doing the math on all of that, so that's just something we'll have to take a look at.
Okay.
But we do that normally right now.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sure we're gonna get these questions at the public hearing.
No, that can be-
Mr. Chairman, I want to also say to Jessica's point exactly, right now, what's on the book is that 5-person rule, so this is just staying consistent with what we currently have on the books for the requirement. That's why,
ADUs
yeah,
and,
that's why this requirement was recommended at the current rate, is because that coincides with what we have now.
and I'm just kind of thinking it from, I mean, I managed an Airbnb listing for quite some time. I'm just kind of putting myself in their shoes, and so I would imagine that they're going to have some kind of a disclaimer on their website that if it's more than 5 people, they'll have to apply for a special permit. Who does that? Is it the renter or the homeowner?
I would presume it's gonna be the homeowner.
Yeah, the onus would,
The onus.
the onus would be on the agent who is registered.
They're the ones who are gonna get cited.
Trouble if they,
That's the problem.
I think it's, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important to clarify for the public, what is the purpose of that rule? Why that particular number and what are we trying to prevent? And I think that would help, it would go a long way in people understanding why we have this rule, 4 or 5
I
people.
may
What is-
divert to Nick. I know it does have some roots in fair housing, and there's been lawsuits across the country on what family is. So,
But the general purpose behind.
Yeah, I can look into that for you and get back to you on that. I don't have that information privy at this moment. Yeah, sadly.
and Paul can talk in
Yeah.
length about that too, so I may have him set out an email.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is just step 1. So there's a lot to be done with it, so we have a motion and a second to refer this to the ZBA for public hearing. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Our presentation for our 2026 budget, building and zoning. Jim?
All right. You could have the next slide, please. So this is just kind of a quick recap, this slide, the general org chart for the department, a couple of quick points. Do want to always point out that we are an enterprise fund. We're not part of the general fund, so our office is funded through permitting, zoning, plating, adjudication, clean and mean, fees and fines that are collected in those regards. So this kind of gives you a quick breakdown. We've got Jason and I well, Jason's our director, then me. We've got Marla runs our financial group. Dave Crowdy runs our building inspectors. Jennifer Sullivan runs she's our office supervisor, and Paul runs the zoning side of things, zoning code enforcement. Next slide. So we like to put this in here every year just to kind of give you a recap of, so you can see what some of the trends are and the way things are going in the department. We track a number of metrics, permits issued, call center inspections, customers served, adjudication cases, zoning, FOIAs, and the number of single-family homes. The numbers might look kind of low right now, but that's because this is only through May. Normally, we would present in August and you'd have June and July's numbers in there as well.
Isn't that 6 months?
It is 6 months.
So we're way
but-
down.
Well, we're coming out of our slowest season, right? So we don't get a lot during the winter. Houses right now, we're actually way ahead. Last year, we only did 42. Right now, we've already issued 35 single-family homes. So that's a good sign. I do have the the June numbers for permits issued is we're up to 1,546 now. So we issued another couple hundred, in the month of June. Call centers up to 1,700 already. We obviously posted this last Friday, so we didn't have the numbers until today. So realistically, we think we're gonna actually show up just about where we belong, with everything right now. We are, so I keep track of the averages of where we're at each month. Right now, it looks like we should average out to about 3,300 permits for the year, permits issued. So if we followed the trends, we'd be about 134 below. And like I said, we're just now getting started into our busy season. So we're really June, July, August, and September are our 4 busiest months. So the way things are shaping up right now, it looks like we should actually be right where we would expect to be. It looks bad because it's the end of May. And January, February, and March are pretty bad for us.
It looks like the, FOIA requests are up a lot. Is there a certain thing people are FOIAing or?
We get a lot of requests for building permits, permit history. Eileen could probably speak to that best. She's our FOIA.
I just noticed it seems like it's way up 6 months through the year than what normally it's been. That's why.
I think more people are being proactive when purchasing a house, whether it's the realtor, the attorney.
So they're
or
FOIAing the
they're
information.
FOIAing what's happened in the history, and also a lot of old septic. Yes.
Interesting.
La, 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 la.
Thank
Yeah, so that data is out there. Okay, the next slide. So this is our revenue projections. So where we've got the current 2025 budget and the projected budget we've gone through, and again, this is extrapolated off of where we've been so far. We anticipate obviously doing a little better as we come out of the slow season. We don't do as well in, like I said, January, February, and March. Things do start picking up. So right now we're 33 staff members. What was I gonna say? Sorry, geez. License and permits, we figured that we'll be pretty much where we were last year, a little bit higher. We are anticipating some bigger projects coming in this year and just general increases. There is an increase in fines and forfeitures, and that has to do a lot with, last year, we were authorized to go ahead and start a collections program with the adjudication fines. So we've been working with a special state's attorney. The state's attorney's office appointed a company. We're kind of getting that contract, I think, sorted out to the end of it now, where they'll actually start collecting on those for us. So we've got about $1 million in adjudication fines that are out there. And we're expecting if we can start getting, a few $100,000 of those a year, as this thing starts to kick off, that'll really kind of help our fines and forfeitures. The investment income is straight from the treasurer's office. The miscellaneous is larger and where's my miscellaneous breakdown, Jason?
This is first.
Oh, okay, that's right. I'm sorry. So you'll remember last month, we prepaid Acela for 3 years. So we've fronted the money for that. So we had to encumber it in here, but we'll get reimbursed from the other 3 departments. We share Acela with Public Works, Stormwater, and DOT. So that becomes a fee that we'll actually see back. It actually doesn't cost us anything, but we have to put the money out there first to get reimbursed. And then so we also have 2 IT senior staff, senior network analysts that are currently in Public Works. And we're going to be transferring their headcount we're proposing to transfer their headcount into building and zoning. And again, that's the same reimbursement. They support that software for DOT, stormwater and public works. So they'll be coming into us, so we'll be being reimbursed for their salaries. It actually isn't costing us any more than the 25% we're already paying for both of those programs. So next slide. And so this is our expenditures. So personnel, that's where you see an increase there. Again, that's the two people that we just talked about. We also last year came forward with the budget and asked for an additional headcount for an assistant manager as part of our succession planning. That position, we said we would fill halfway through the year. So as soon as we're done with the budget, we're going to start working directly with HR to get that position filled. Next year, that'll be a full salary. So there's an increase there as well. And then just some market analysis. We did a bit of a survey of a number of the positions in the department and determined that we were under what the surrounding communities were. We looked at the surrounding counties and a number of communities, resident that had populations similar to the unincorporated population. $100,000 people around that area, and determined that we had a number of people that were lower than we would expect them to be. So, and again, in an attempt to try and retain our staff, we lose quite a few people to other areas, other departments. They leave for various reasons. I think since I've been here since 2011, we've lost 54 people, which is a lot of turnover. So we're trying to keep our staff, incentivize them to stay. So we're proposing to make an adjustments and equity increases as well. And again, like I said, budgeting full-time for that position. Contractual services, again, that is, oh, that again, that's the other side of being paid back for Acela. And then the capital outlay is DOT has let us know we need to buy 2 new vehicles. So we'll be getting 2 new cars this year. I think that's about it. Next slide. Favorite part, there it goes.
Thank you, Chair. Just going back 2 slides in the investment income section category. Are those, I know you said it comes right from the treasurer's office, but are those like short-term investments like CDs, banks, you know, just, I don't know if you have that information.
We can look into that. Basically, what we've checked with them in the past, and what we've been told is they just take all of basically the cash funds that the county has and they invest them. Ours goes in the same pool that everybody else is going to.
Okay.
So I don't actually have specific investment type that they have. We just get the interest off of it based on how much we've got in there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Not quite a budget question, but I have 2 properties in my almost immediate neighborhood that have been tagged and re-tagged and adjudications, and it's like gone on a really long time. So tell me the steps, because I routinely get communication from neighbors of these 2 properties going, what's going on now? And I have to tell them, I don't really know. And so why is that taking so long?
Well, I'd have to find out more about what the 2 specific properties are, but generally the way we run our process is we take you through adjudication multiple times and try and get compliance that way, at least 3 times.
Okay.
We also want to create a record. And if that doesn't work, then we take you across the street to the courthouse. And then we can show a judge that we've given them the remedies, we've given them all of their options. The fines have been assessed. Additionally, groups like that have liens on their properties will be the target of some of these collections. And I think when people actually start, they don't just sit there with a lien on their property, they start having to pay. And then they're going to start cleaning these things up a lot more proactively because they don't want to go back into the system again. But that's kind of the way it works. We have to build a record for it generally, unless it's something that's needs to have a temporary restraining order, or we've got to get in there right away and shut it down. If it's your basic property maintenance stuff, it's frustrating for the neighbors, but we have a process we have to go through to really
Well, I
something.
think somewhere along the line, the process is
Okay.
getting bogged down,
You
and
could
that has been admitted to me that, oh gee, things got a little, so.
If you could, we could speak after and you
Yeah,
can give me
to-
those addresses and we'll look into them.
I think you'll find, and I found that first off, before it goes to adjudication, we do everything we can to deal with people to try to bring them in
Well, I think
compliance.
both of these properties are in adjudication
Yeah,
already.
and if there's bogging down, it's more than likely being bogged down because of the property owner.
Not what I'm hearing, Sam, but I
They can delay it
appreciate
if they
your.
want to, but yes, Beatrice, you have some, you know.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So did I miss this? Is there a reason why in FY 2025, the intergovernmental is just, nothing's there?
Oh, that's Joy. Yeah, so that was our environmental division. They got
We
transferred
transferred
to,
out.
to facilities management.
Mm.
Oh,
So
okay.
they'll continue to show up in our budget until we get past, 5 years out from them. And then they'll kind of drop off. And it's an accounting line that still shows up, in OpenGov. So it'll be there for a long time.
Can we move forward to the expenditures slide? Okay, so for the 2025 department request, we're looking at $1 million, right?
Which one of you, sorry, which one of you had?
Are you talking $1 million increase from 25 to 26?
Yeah.
Approximately, I mean, it's the budget we got this year was 4.5 million, so a little less, but yes.
And that is mostly because of the personnel issue.
Yeah, the addition, as Mr. Strand indicated, the addition of those two IT senior analysts, that adds some, as well as the cost of Acela prepay being budgeted in ours and being reimbursed in the back end, as well as some of that market adjustments for salaries.
And was Acela not previously coming out of our budget? It was, wasn't it?
It was, but we were only paying our portion of it. So because we prepaid, then everybody, the other 3 departments will reimburse us for it. So it looks larger in our budget. It's really not costing us any more than it did before.
Okay, thank you.
You just got the credit.
To get the
Yes.
credit.
You would call it.
Krajewski,
Yeah, thank you, Chair. How much do we have in reserves?
So our cash balance at the end of May was 7.4 million.
Yeah, because I just, on member Honing's question, I just don't, if you go back to the slide previous, the slide previous, we have interest income of 200,000, for this year, we're gonna, project 200 some thousand, but yet we, are going up with interest, income. I know it came from the treasurer's office, but rates have been coming down, and if we got a balanced budget, our reserves, I would have thought we would have got the same or less than this current year. But yet it came from the treasurer's office, so I would just look at that number, but that's not yours. But then if you go back to the next one, the expenditures, do you have something for us? Because I know the salaries are up 600K, and that's the 2 employees that we have to put in there, the new
The
administrative
assistant, yeah,
manager.
the assistant.
And then I assume the rest, which that's probably a couple 100,000, but then the rest is all the increases. Do you
Yes,
have that salary that you could send to us?
it's roughly 240, but yes, we'll get you the
All
breakdown.
right, and then the last thing is, I know you mentioned contractual services, it's like 400 grand more than last year. You said 2 vehicles, but is there more in there than 2 vehicles? But I don't think 2 vehicles would be 400K.
The 2 vehicles is the capital outlay, the 85,000 is what.
Well, I understand, but I'm just saying it's 400 and some thousand more than last year.
Contractual services is strictly the Acela increase for us doing that one lump sum. That's out of contractual services.
Okay. So
That's the cost of us paying for the whole thing. So,
okay,
yeah.
so that 400 is that, and then it's almost, it's a
There's-
390, it's the miscellaneous from the
Correct.
the revenue, so those are just the water.
Correct,
Okay,
yeah.
so in reality, you're up 600,000 from last year's budget. And we got the vehicles and we got the increase in the salaries to get competitive, plus the
Yes, sir.
Zoom position. Okay, thank you.
anybody else? Okay, well, has there been any increase in our permit fees? Sure.
We actually have not increased our permit fees since 2008.
Wow.
We've reduced them, in fact, in a number of categories. We did the public agency discount. When I got here in about 2012, we reduced it by 10% for other municipalities and park districts, fire districts. Last year, or earlier this year, or last year, we reduced it by another down to 50% of the permit fee. So in order to help permitting here on campus and Forest Preserve, some large projects and the park districts and everybody else, we also reduced our reinspection fee. It was automatically $100, which seemed kind of punitive to people. So what we did was we did a tiered system about 5 years ago where your first reinspection fee is $50, your second is $75, and your third and more are $100. Kind of to pay our time to go there, but also to not be quite so punitive when somebody has an issue and they need to have a reinspection. So in a number of areas, we've tried to help. We created the green building incentive too, which was a 10% discount as well.
Yes.
Which your answer reminded me, we had a discussion about impact fees before a couple of years ago. Are we still doing that, or has it increased or decreased or?
Impact fees were something that DOT did, and I believe they stopped doing them entirely, right? I think they eliminated
They're
impact
gone.
fees.
Okay, that's what I was checking. Okay.
Yes, right.
Yeah, just to pick up on that permit fees, I know years ago, this was back when College of DuPage was doing all the big buildings. And we got into some issues on the amount of fees we were charging for the permits. Because it's an enterprise fund and just should cover its costs, but not any more than that. Once that got resolved, I remember there was analysis done. We were charging, just maybe you have that, maybe you don't, but what our true cost is for residential inspections and for the commercial, because I remember back then, we were losing a lot of money on the residentials. We were making it on the commercial, which broke even. I don't know if that's still the case, and we haven't touched permit fees in a while, but to cover our cost on residential inspections would be probably a sticker shock for them.
It would be cost prohibitive.
But we overcharge the commercial.
We do.
I don't know if we've done any analysis on what those are
We've looked at
recently.
that, and typically I believe that's the way most municipalities charge it. I know on the other two I worked in, our commercial rates were always higher than the residential. I think the bigger problem is you can't charge somebody, $1,000 for an $800 shed permit fee. They're just not coming in. And then
But that's our cost,
feeling
and then
was-
unfortunately, we pass it on to the bids. And I
Well,
just was wondering if
yeah.
it's gotten, because I remember we were looking at it, kind of adjusting it slightly. That was, I don't know, I
Yeah.
mean, 10 or 12 years ago
It's
when
been
the
quite
college
a while.
page was there.
Yeah.
I just don't know where those numbers are at today. Are the residents paying 25%? The businesses are overpaying by 75? I don't know the answer. I was just, if you have that, or it'd
You can take a look at that.
interesting to know. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And it's not unusual for any commercial entity to pick up the slack for the residential, whether it's your real estate taxes or anywhere else.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately,
Doing
municipalities,
business. Yeah.
municipalities have big commercial. We don't necessarily have the very
Yeah.
big, large, I mean, College of DuPage was an anomaly, but
It was.
our commercial and unincorporated aren't that.
No, we don't get that many, and additionally, most of the municipalities are all part of the general fund.
Well,
So
that's a very important
You
thing.
don't have to, your department doesn't necessarily have to support itself, so they don't need to charge larger fees like we do. And then problem you run into also is with a big commercial project, it can last a year to 2 years. All of our costs go up December 1st by the COLA and whatever else, increases there are, and these permit fees have to then support us going out to that property for 18 months or longer. So it's not just the inspections, it's buying the new vehicle, and it's everybody in the office, it's behind the scenes supporting it. So it's got to cover the whole office.
And that increase in the fines, we're pretty confident that we have $1 million outstanding, but we are stepping up enforcement and collections.
So also on the revenue, I do want to, revenue expense, we also have to budget for the clean and lean fund that's in there, that's in that line. So that's 266,000. So that is slightly inflated just based off the idea that we have to carry over the balance of what's already on the books. So that's just an addition. And then that collections money is where we think we'll get a couple $100,000 possibly.
Yeah, if you remember this, basically the state's attorney's office told us it wasn't worth the time that they were spending to collect the money, given the likelihood of success. So that's why we went out and engaged the services of a collection agency who were gonna go out there. So,
We updated the entire adjudication ordinance to accommodate.
yes. All right, Vice Chair.
Thank you. So just going back to the 2 cars, isn't there a county policy about the replacement of the cars? So is this 2 cars on top of that?
So-
Replacement policy where you guys just automatically replace every
Yeah,
5
so
years or so?
Department of Transportation monitors those. There's a time frame and mileage. And then at some point, if your car becomes so cost prohibitive to keep repairing, they'll say you gotta get it going. But they notify us each year how many cars they feel we need to replace for next year. So these will be 2 replacements. We had 3 replacements for this year. And we had an emergency procurement at the end of last year for one that just died.
So it's generally built into the budget. This
It
is not
is.
2 additional vehicles on
Right.
top of what's
Yeah.
already in there.
Yeah, these are
Okay,
just
that's-
replacements for what we have.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
So that really had nothing to do with the increase, I mean, because we had 3 last, we had 3 last year, only 2 this year, so it's
Right.
basically all the one contract that we're.
Yeah, the Acela,
The
as well
Acela.
as in there is also the clean and clean, the 266. So it's, again, that $250,000 inflation just based on having to keep.
But yeah, the increase has nothing to do with the vehicles, because we had 3 last
Yeah.
year, 2 this year.
Correct.
Anyone else? Okay. I don't think we have to take any action on that, for our presentation, so, thank you, Jim, thank you all. Any old business? New business? Very none, seeing none, our objection return, thank you. Stick around, everyone.